Fan 305 and also Nate 561. Very concerned about recruiting a quarterback and keeping with your rules of getting a quarterback in the fold every year.
Recruiting rule number one, get a quarterback every year. And I mean, honestly, it's Jake Garcia or bust. That's it. Jake Garcia is still committed to USC. He's moved from California, where he was at a couple different high schools, just because, you know, there was coaching changes and things like that. So he kind of bounced from school to school out there, but he's transferred to Valdosta, Georgia. Rush Probst, the longtime head coach. He was the coach of Hoover, Alabama back, you know, when they had the MTV show, 2-A-Days, it was called. He's the coach out there now and everything. He's closer to Miami. From a geographical standpoint, Jake Garcia is, you know, he's in the group chat with the majority of the commitments from this recruiting class because they got a group chat. You know, he FaceTimed with the coaches last week. I know that Ari Wasserman from The Athletic asked Jake Garcia, you know, are you considering going anywhere else other than USC? And to his credit, Jake Garcia said no. But I think that that's part of playing the game, to be perfectly honest. I believe that to be just like, remember when Steve Kerr was asked about changing the starting lineup in the finals before the game 3 in 2000, whatever that was, and told the reporter to his face and said, no, we're going to ride with our same starting five. You know, nothing changes. And then he started the death lineup that year or that game and switched it up. And after the game, he said, what did you want me to do? Like, my two options were tell you the truth and give my opponent the insight into the strategy, or lie and surprise them with what we had worked on behind closed doors that obviously, you know, leaked out.
And he can't even say, you know what, we're going to make that decision at game time, because then he's basically saying we probably are going to switch it up, because otherwise I would say, no, we're staying with our starting lineup.
You know what I mean? Exactly. So, yeah, you can't even hint at it. It has to be, no, 100%. So this seems an analogous situation for Jake Garcia, because from everything that I've heard and read, there is consideration still. And there are other factors as well. And if you know, and I'm not going to say anything about that. But, I mean, there's other factors, you know, that go into this whole thing. And, yeah, I think Jake Garcia said what he needed to say in that moment, just like Steve Kerr did. And it is good on him. And I am not denigrating the journalist for standing behind what the kid told him. I just don't think, from everything that I've heard, that the kid told the truth. So it's really Jake Garcia or bust. And, you know, yeah, I mean, that's it. So if not, then you're maybe looking at a transfer, but I'm not really big on that for another year, because, you know, if you're going to have a transfer, that's going to go to Georgia, Alabama, Oklahoma, you know, because Oklahoma makes a living off of that. Now, you do have Spencer Rattler out there, so maybe he dissuade somebody from going to Oklahoma. So now Miami can raise up the rankings of, okay, if you are a grad transfer and you want to go somewhere else, maybe you come here instead of there. But I don't want to bank on that. But I think that there's a better chance at Jake Garcia than people are mentioning, for one, just because, again, he's playing the game the way that it is to be played. And yeah, it's until Miami presses for somebody else, Miami's going after Jake Garcia.
I love seeing this. Danny Q519. Been watching for a while, first time commenting. I love people that say, hey, I've been watching, whether it's for a few weeks.
First time, long time.
Sometimes it's for like a few years. People will say, I've been watching you for a few years, and this is the first time I've ever said anything. Been watching for a while, first time commenting. Thank you, Mark, Cam, Wholesome One, even those FSU guys for keeping us entertained. With that said, it's all about the U. Go Canes. Garcia to the U.
Let's go. Exactly. Yeah, no,
Thanks,
Danny,
Danny,
you know, appreciate that. And honestly, Danny, you've motivated me, because I've been a long time listener of a certain podcast, and every week they talk about, you know, sending in your 5-star reviews and and everything. And I've been listening to this podcast for going on a decade now. It's been a long, long time, and I've never commented. I've never done anything like that. But because you did here, I'm going to pay it forward, and I'm going to comment on that other podcast. And I hope that you guys do the same.
So we've got 178 on the line. We usually top out around 220. We've been as high on a big game week at 320, 330, 340, something in that range. Man, imagine if all of you who are watching, which should be about 3,000 to 4,000 by the time this posts and is out there for a few days, all of you or a lot of you who really want to support this channel and support our particular show would go out there on social media and say, this is what happens every week. Lock into Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. Follow Cam, Underwood Sports, State of the U. Get here for the show. We try to make it consistent every Saturday. Can't do that all the time. That's the reason you subscribe. You turn on the bell. You get the notifications. You know when we're going live. And if all of you would go out there on social media and say, hey, if you love college football talk, not even Miami, just Miami, but certainly if you know Miami fans, bring them in. But we've got fan bases represented all over the place, and you guys have a good time listening to Cam and also kicking it around back and forth about college football. All right. Matthew Ehrman is asking about any potential flips.
I mean, yeah, there's always potential flips. You got to start the list with Savion Collins from Palmetto, the 4-star defensive tackle. He's a guy that obviously you have to watch. I mean, there's guys that are being recruited by other teams. Lawrence Seymour from Miami Central, the offensive lineman. Florida State is trying to push for him. Florida as well. So yeah, you got to play defense with the guys. You got to keep recruiting your recruiting class. You know what I mean? So it's not like the video game where it's just like, okay, cool, I got them to commit and it changed, and then you can just disregard them because that ostensibly makes them sign. No, you got to keep recruiting these guys all the way through. You just got to look at that. So you got to keep recruiting the guys and contacting them and everything like that. Speaking of recruits, I saw a question earlier about Markevious Brown at cornerback. Yeah, he's pretty much the guy that Miami's looking at right now. After the Jason Marshall fiasco, it's been plainly said that Jason Marshall told the coaches that he was going to come to Miami, and that precipitated one of those tweet storms one night. And then whatever happened, and then he announced to Florida. So yeah, you're in the aftermath of that. You're looking at Markevious Brown. He's at IMG now. He's from Pahokee, the Muck area. So he's a guy that maybe we can get. And then, hey, we've written about it, and I've said it a lot of times. Mike Rumpf might get beat up front for the All-American guys from South Florida that we want at cornerback. But every year since he's been here, there's been a late cycle blue chip recruit that Miami pulls at corner out of thin air. So maybe this is year 4 of that, or year 5 of that, where coming down towards signing day, somebody from somewhere else, maybe a late rising blue chipper, maybe someone who's committed to another school wants to flip around and come down to Miami. So right now it could be Markevious Brown. At the end, honestly, who knows? Because at this time in the cycle, the last 2 years, Isaiah Dunson was not on Miami's radar in terms of a realistic recruit. And the year before that, Christian Williams was not on Miami's radar in terms of a realistic recruit. Both of those guys now wear orange and green. So, if not Markevious Brown, obviously not Jason Marshall. Maybe we wait till December or February and we see who ends up, as the late cycle get. Because, invariably for the last 5 years, there's been one. So maybe this is, or 4 years, 5, whatever it is, 5 years, I want to say. But yeah, maybe this is the next consecutive year where you get a late cycle ad at corner.